Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us and welcome to Creative Australia's 10 Ds of Giving Days webinar. My name is James Boyd. I'm the State Manager of Development and Partnerships based in Western Australia for Creative Australia. And I have pleasure in introducing today's seminar, but also facilitating the session and questions. Um, I'd like to first acknowledge the traditional owners on the land on which I'm speaking to you from, and that's the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders, past and present. There's two presenters. I'm obviously one, James. Um, my background, I've got about 30 years experience in the arts, a theatre background with about 15 years private sector and and arts partnerships and philanthropy experience. Um, and my co-presenter is Stephen Richardson, known to many of you, based in Victoria. Stephen, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks, James. Yes, I'm Stephen Richardson. As James has already mentioned, coming to you here from Naarm, from Wurundjeri country, down in the southeast of the continent. Similar to James, long experience in the arts, a lot to do with, of course, fundraising, which brings me here today, and excitingly, a lot of experience on giving days too. So we're really excited to share what we've learned about Giving Days, and of course, invite you to be involved in a successful Giving Day campaign later on in the year.
Thanks, Stephen. So we've got a couple of Aslan interpreters online, Georgia and Jody. So please hook into those guys if they're helpful to you. Your cameras and mics have already been turned off by the system. We will take questions. If you can tap those into the Q&A part of the Zoom call at the bottom of your screen. I'll review the questions as they come in, and if they're not answered already during the presentation, I will revisit these questions at the end. So use, just to say again, use the Q&A box for questions, and I'll review them as they come in. You can throw those questions in at any time during the webinar. So look, Creative Australia recently announced its inaugural Giving Day to the Arts. The Giving Day to the Arts event will take place on Thursday, the 23rd of October this year for the first time. Importantly, when Creative Australia launches a public awareness campaign next month in August, you'll notice that the name of the Giving Day has been changed or renamed to Oz Art Day. There's a number of reasons for this, which I won't worry about going into, but once you see promotion and awareness campaigns around Oz Art Day, that is the Giving Day to the Arts, Thursday, the 23rd of October. This webinar is to really help you make the most of it, to make the most of the opportunity. I think a little bit of knowledge can go an awful long way with this type of fundraising events. So the webinar's objectives are to understand the unique aspects of a giving day, to explore different ways to engage with the giving day, to consider specific giving day strategies, enhance your storytelling skills, leverage digital tools and social media, and of course to unlock the power of your network to make it a successful day. The Giving Day to the Arts is an experiment. This is the first time. So we hope it'll be successful, but it may take a few years to really sort of get up to speed. It's it's a time sensitive moment. It's a concentrated moment in the year where we can all make a call to action, a collective call to action for artists and arts organizations to raise funds for their practice, for their creative ambition, increasing the visibility of arts philanthropy and encouraging greater generosity in support of the arts. Its aim is more than just a fundraiser. It's a national public movement. Um, really from grassroots and regional areas all the way into the big cities. It has the potential to create a real groundswell that celebrates and elevates the role of the arts in Australian life. It will hopefully bring together artists and arts organisations of all sizes for one collective fundraising effort, resulting in a long-term support and hopefully strong donor engagement with the Australian creativity and creative industry. Any artist, any art collective, any arts organisation, whatever their size or ambition, can participate. To support participants, Creative Australia has tried to offer a number of things. These free online fundraising workshops and coaching sessions, they're open to all artists and arts organisations. This is one of those sessions, and this one's obviously specifically for artists. In addition to that, we've also offered in recent weeks micro grants to organizations that have a turnover of less than $5 million. So that's to help them create digital content for their campaigns. And lastly, there are a suite of digital campaign assets that will be made available to organizations and artists who'd like to take part in the Giving Day, which will allow you to visually and thematically connect to the National Giving Day. So I'm going to invite Stephen to dive into the content and take you through this webinar, and I'll revisit you during the Q&A. Stephen, over to you.
James, thanks so much for that lovely introduction. Look, first of all, I want to acknowledge the fact that you're all here today. We are here at Creative Australia. We certainly understand that giving up your time is really important and your time is valuable. I think we'll talk through some Giving Day theory in the first instance, and then try and hit upon some broad methodology in relation to Giving Day and how it might work for you. I should also mention that James and I are part of a disaggregated suite of state managers available to you wherever you may be around the country. So certainly in addition to whatever you may glean from today's webinar, don't hesitate to reach out to your state manager, whose responsibility really is to assist you with your fundraising and to try and help you with your sustainable business practices down the road. We've playfully called this series the 10 Ds of Giving Day. The 10 Ds of Giving Day. So I've tried to sort of, structure this up in a certain sort of way, almost as an audit for how things might run on a giving day. And I guess the first thing to sort of acknowledge is that a giving day is a bit of a misnomer. A successful giving day is built on a lot of work before the day. So preparation is certainly a big part of the key. You have to plan to succeed. If you leave the giving day to the actual day before you do anything, before you do any preparation, you're unlikely to achieve a really successful result. So preparation, planning, getting things in order before your actual effort on the day, the giving day can, I guess, in some respects, be considered the culmination of all of your work, and hopefully it comes to great effect on that day. We like to think, an effort for a giving day might be around sort of 10 or 12 weeks from planning to wrap up. So before the day, there's a lot of things to be taken into consideration. First of all, you have to consider, do you have the time and energy to do this work? All fundraising is work. The Giving Day is no exception. It's not a magic wand that's going to magically mean, money's going to flow to you. It does take effort and work. Things like considering your case for support. Why would anyone give you money? You need to answer that question. What are you fundraising for? Identifying your team, key staff, volunteers, ambassadors, people who can communicate your need alongside you. Making a fundraising plan. Do you know how to ask? Do you really need to ask? Well, yes, you do. Which online platform or online channel will I use? Um, in the past, telephone strategy on the day is a common considered factor for successful giving days. Do you have that data? Do you have a constituency that you can reach out to help you achieve your fundraising target? So building your giving day strategy into comms in the lead up and your digital strategy is certainly a really important part of that. I'd also sort of throw light on what I would call the department of giving. If you're a small organization, we'd say the whole of organization needs to be involved. As independent artists, solo artists, building a team around you of collaborators, people who could help you deliver the work in the lead up to the giving day, but also on the giving day is a really important part of that. So boosting your networks and contacts, inevitably you'll be making what I would call an ask video, i.e., a video that can solicit a donation and be placed as a placeholder when you can't be there in a live situation. Is there somebody who can assist you with your writing your case for support, organising on the day? Are there people who can introduce you to other people who might be able to support you on the day? Would you consider hosting an event? All these things, of course, are work. And the more people you've got in your, what I would call your department of giving on your team, it's really important to try and galvanize them, of course, before the day. Data. People give money. So we need a way to communicate with people. And so you have to consider, do you have the necessary means to contact them? So I've already mentioned telephone contact on the day is a highly usual element of giving days. So do you have telephone numbers for calls and texts? And if you don't, how can you get them? So data is a really important part of that communication. And really, data is another word for who have you got to contact and how are you going to contact them? Mostly strangers don't give. Mostly people who are connected to you are certainly going to be the ones who give to you early. Texts are a really important part of that suite. They have a 98% open rate amongst all age groups. So you've got to think, who is in your constituency, who is connected to me professionally, personally, geographically. So data is really important that done. The fourth D is what I call getting it done. As I mentioned at the outset, fundraising is work. And in the context that most of you work, of course, you want to be delivering your artworks. You don't necessarily want to be doing all the background work involved in fundraising. So it can fall down the list of priorities. I'd really encourage you to consider, really grapple with the idea that you need to allocate a consistent amount of time to do this work over a period of time. As I said, 10 to 12 weeks is probably usual. Donors. So generally, donors is where the money's going to come from. We don't, unsurprisingly, we don't have a giant list of magical donors that we could send to you who are going to, magically give you money. So the people who are connected to you, the people who are part of your work in your networks, they're the people we need to engage with on the day. And also in the lead up. Donors, I always sort of say, need three characteristics to give. They need connection with you, probably an emotional relationship with you in some way. They need interest in your work, interest in your short project, your short film project or whatever it is, a more cerebral connection to your work, and of course, capacity to give. The research is pretty clear. There are two main reasons people don't give to you. Number one, they haven't been asked. And number two, they don't know you need the money. So part of the strategy here is communicating an ask and communicating a need. The fifth D on the 10 Ds of giving days is what I would call doublers. So doublers are the people you can reach out to and encourage to pledge to you or donate to you before the day. The doubling strategy or the leveraging strategy where you can get some money in the bank, if you like, which you can then roll out on the day to get people to match and therefore double, is a really important strategy. So this takes time, it takes energy. We're going to talk a little bit about that further down in the webinar. But doublers are really important. They can help you set a realistic target. So, for instance, if before the day you've raised in pledges, $15,000, $10,000, $20,000, that can really help you set your target for the day. So I often say, getting 50% in the bank before the day is a pretty good benchmark, if you like, to what you will achieve on the day. So if you've raised $10,000 before the day, and you've got a good constituency of people to ask, probably you're going to hit $20,000. So you need to sort of really put a bit of work into your doublers. And apart from anything else, having money in the bank, having some pledges that has been committed to you before the day helps you sleep better at night. Doublers give your campaign currency and motivate others to give. So that leveraging idea is a really important part of the consideration. Digital giving days are not only a digital campaign, but your digital component is a really important part of this. I'm not going to say too much about that today because we have our partners in this enterprise, Marlin Communication, giving a standalone website around digital marketing and releasing digital assets on the 12th of August. So if you haven't got that date penciled away, please, by all means, put that in your diary and rejoin us for that webinar. Your domain. So an online presence is, again, another really important indicator of success around giving days. So having the right platform, making it easy for people to give, making it easy for people to give you a gift is a really important part of that. We're going to talk through a couple of options in relation to your web presence, but it's really important to have your domain in good shape. That all takes time, of course, before the day. Then, of course, we've got the day to think about and how you strategize that 12 to 24-hour period, probably more like a 12-hour period for most people. The research, again, is coming in that, shorter giving days are probably more impactful, creating a sense of urgency over that time. But how do you maximize your impact across that specific time period? How do you maximize your social media footprint? How do you make asking calls on the day to seek support? Creating a script for the day is a really important part of that. And then the last D in the 10 Ds of giving days, of course, is other days after, because you've got to keep working on raising money after the giving day. Apart from anything else, deepening your relationships, doing the thanking and stewarding around those gifts is a really important part of the giving day. So broadly, they're the things we're going to touch on a little bit deeply in the webinar. So let's talk a little bit quickly about, regular fundraising campaigns and how they might differ or be slightly different to a giving day to the arts campaign. Well, of course, fundraising campaigns of work, I've already mentioned that, they require planning, time and effort. All fundraising requires that. You have to ask. We've got to get good at asking. We've got to ask the right people at the right time for the right reason, for the right amount. Sounds simple, but it's not so simple. We've really got to sort of lean into that and make sure. And those four elements are a really good way to sort of audit your asking, if you like, audit your campaign. I'm going to talk a little bit about quiet phase methodology. I've already mentioned about how you might go about seeking pledges or seeking donations before you've gone public. We're going to do a little deeper dive into quiet phase methodology and how that might work on your fundraising campaign, and in particular on a giving day campaign. Leveraging is your friend. So the idea that you're going to match donations on the day, really important part of all fundraising campaigns, but particularly on giving days. You've got to make giving easy and fun. That might be an event strategy, how you're going to thank people, because you can never thank people enough. As James said, the Giving Day is a bit of a new initiative, so we're going to certainly give it a good old crack and see how we go. But it is a new initiative, and we'll possibly it will take people a while to sort of get their heads around, what the Giving Day to the Arts campaign it is. The great thing, of course, is that there's going to be all sorts of people involved, from independent artists, national organisations, big and small. So it will be a sector-wide campaign supported by a broad-based an awareness campaign. But the culmination day, as I mentioned, all those campaigns will culminate on the same day. So it will be a bit of a splash, particularly across social media. And of course, because maximizing the power of that digital content will create some widespread public engagement. There are key messages and digital assets for a national collective push. So we're hoping that the sum of the parts, if you like, is going to be greater than, no, what am I saying? The whole will be greater than the sum of the parts, because there's going to be a lot of organisations, a lot of people, a lot of artists and arts organisations involved. Okay, so let me just take a quick breath. Let's talk a little bit about Giving Day levers. And really, this is, I guess, is what's encouraged us to sort of lean into the whole Giving Day strategy. Giving Days in the arts haven't been around that long. In fact, Giving Days in Australia, I think, sort of first came to Australia at around about 2014, maybe, mainly in the health and education sector, but haven't been around too long in the arts. But we've seen some good success stories for Giving Days in the arts. And part of the reason is because they help. The power of Giving Days to help you build your community. Some of the Giving Days I've worked on in the past, organisations have raised a significant amount of money, much more money than they thought they ever could. But another ancillary benefit of the Giving Days that they've met new donors that they hadn't necessarily come across. So they've built their community around a Giving Day effort. I'd also say that the organizations that do this really well help build their community, their workplace community as well. So, as an independent artist, inviting your team, your collaborators in, your friends in to assist you on the day helps galvanize that community. Urgency is a big part of a Giving Day, of course. It happens on that day. It creates a sense of urgency for people to participate, to cross the line when they might be sitting back at other times in other fundraising campaigns, waiting to see what happens. When you go, well, this is going to finish at 8 o'clock tonight, you better get on. It's a really important part of that. Recognition for your donors, super important part of that Giving Day lever. This goes to how you might support that on your social media and digital platforms. And of course, people want to see impact. And impact can be made through the value of your donations, and particularly if you've been able to secure leveraging donations or matching donations, that becomes a really important part of impact. We need a community to help us fundraise. And I've sort of broken it down here into, who you might look to assist you with your Giving Day strategy. We see artists that run successful fundraising campaigns are not necessarily just solo operators. They have a particular group of friends or peers or collaborators to support them through their fundraising campaign. The Giving Day is no exception. You need ambassadors, you need advocates, you need people to support you through this process. Digital, as I mentioned, is not the only fundraising strategy, but it's a pretty important one when it comes to a Giving Day strategy. So, database, who are you going to ask? Have we got the capacity to connect with them? That's a super important part of that. A subset of that, of course, is your social media connections. If you've got a website, that's great. If that could be part of your fundraising platform. If you don't have a fundraising platform, we're going to talk about that in a second about how you might develop one. Your digital advertising part is part of that, and of course, other editorial opportunities. I really want to lean into digital fundraising platform at the moment. Many of you, of course, will have come across a digital fundraising platform that we run, a great tool called the Australian Cultural Fund. And essentially, in essence, the Australian Cultural Fund is a digital fundraising platform that enables you to act like a charity, if you like. It gives you deductible gift recipient one status. And you can invite your donors to give, to make a charitable donation through the Australian Cultural Fund. They get a tax receipt, you get the money. It's free of charge. It's a great service. You also get, the benefit of staff who are working with the Australian Cultural Fund who can really help organise your campaign. How does it work? It's pretty straightforward. You register your project, and I would encourage you, if you're going to use the Australian Cultural Fund as part of your Giving Day strategy, register early. I would say, try and register before the start of October so that you've got plenty of time. This is part of your Giving Day work. Register your campaign on the platform. It doesn't need to be public yet. You can create your campaign. You can create your digital assets. Your ask video can rest on the platform, and you don't have to do much. You can just have it there. Once you've launched your fundraising campaign publicly, of course, you can start fundraising. Your supporters donate to the ACF. You receive it. They receive a tax receipt. You receive the money. You do your project, and then we ask you to give us a little report about what you did. It's pretty straightforward. And look, we're pretty agnostic as to where the money goes. We're not necessarily going to judge what that project is. This is all about supporting you in your fundraising. Who can fundraise on the ACF? Well, really, all of you out there who are artists engaged in the pursuit of quality cultural activities, which will further Australia's cultural life. It's a pretty broad brushstroke there in terms of who's got access to the Australian Cultural Fund. So I'd encourage you, for those of you who aren't aware of the Australian Cultural Fund, do a bit of a Google search, have a bit of a look at that service. It's a pretty effective service. For the Giving Day, there's going to be some special features on the Australian Cultural Fund. We're going to have a live donation tally. Why is that important? Well, donors like to see, once they've made a donation, your tally go up, in as close to real time as possible. That does something special to the chemicals in the brain when people say, oh, I put $200 in. Bingo, there it is. I see it on the website. So that's a really important part of that. The percentage tracker, of course, people want to see how close you're getting to your target, a countdown clock, building that sense of urgency. I've got to get my act together. I've got to make a donation before it finishes. That's a really important part. The badging and being part of the Giving Day suite of projects on the Australian Cultural Fund will be clear. And a life supporter tab where donors can leave a message. That's really important too. People like to give, they like to be recognised, they like to be encouraging, and that's also part of what I would call a social proof theory, where people want to join something that's important. They want to see who they're joining. So that little live supporter tab will be really important. And of course, your live donor spreadsheet can be downloaded at any time. So you can find out who's given to you in real time. You can thank them in real time. And look, frankly, towards the end of the day, you can even go and ask them again for further support, as your countdown clock ticks down. Those people who have given early are very inclined to give again at the end as well. Okay, let's see if we can. Here we go. There are, however, some other fundraising platforms that might be more suitable to you. One of the great things about the Australian Cultural Fund is that it's not a rewards-based fundraising platform. It's not a for-profit fundraising platform. So, in other words, if somebody gives you a donation, their reward is the tax-free, the tax receipt. You don't have to send out a copy of your latest graphic novel or recording or what have you. Basically, the tax receipt that the donor gets that they can redeem as part of their income tax for the year, that's the gift that they get. So that saves you a whole lot of messing about at the end after you've raised your money. There's not a huge amount of follow-up that you have to do to recognize that gift. As I said, it's fee-free. Whatever you raise is whatever you get. There's not, you don't have to hit a target through the Australian Cultural Fund. Whatever you raise is whatever you get. However, there are some other options available to you, so it's worth seriously considering. What is the right option for you as far as being associated with Giving Day. Okay, another breath. So let's talk about a few tactics. So the first thing I want to talk about is matching donors. As I said, that leveraging idea is a really important and powerful tool. If you can find some people that the people who donate to on the day are matched by, i.e., doubling your money or doubling their money on the day, that's a powerful motivation. And think about it. If the communication is, every dollar I raise on Thursday, the 23rd of October, will be doubled, that is a powerful tool. The prospective donors can be incentivized to give and give a little bit more if they're thinking, they're getting a 2-for-1 or 3-for-1 matching donor. So very important to think about that. Schedule pledges. The idea on the day that you're going to roll out some pledges, particularly it might be lunchtime, things have gone a bit flat, you've had a good first 2 hours, you might roll out some scheduled pledges that you can create some momentum behind. So thinking about helping maintain momentum throughout the day when you've got some pledges that you've pre-arranged before the day is a super important part of that. You might want to link an in-person event. It might be an opening night, might be the launch of a project. It might just be an open studio situation that you have, but an in-person event can create a bit of hype and a bit of buzz. That may suit exactly what you're doing and suit your constituency and suit the community that you're talking to. Having some campaign champions is also a really important part of this. Who are they? Well, they are people who can share your campaign widely amongst their networks, just really people who can help spread the word. And of course, emails and social media posts. We've already discussed that. These are really important. Again, these are networks that you can share amongst your collaborators, amongst your audiences and constituency about the impact of your work. You can create a narrative around the project that you're fundraising for through emails and a social media campaign. So those links, ideally, seamlessly connect with your audiences and your campaign donate page. And that's certainly part of the criteria that you should look for in relation to, which fundraising platform you look for. What is the seamless connection they have in relation to your fundraising page? And the last thing I really want to talk about, it's a little bit old school, but personal asks are really important. And of course, phone calls on the day are also really important. I've already mentioned that phone calls on the day to potential supporters is really important, but also calling people ahead of the day, giving them a heads up that your giving day is coming, is arriving next week or the week after, but also calling people on the day to share the excitement, to share the enthusiasm, the results so far, and of course to encourage them to make a contribution. And as I mentioned before, texts have a 98% open rate amongst all age demographics. So don't be afraid of communicating through text either. Really, this is really about leveraging and the importance of leveraging. And look, if I haven't been clear, it's really about finding donors who can make a pledge prior to the day to be matched on the day. And those donors who make a gift on the day is then doubled, feel a great sense of their impact really being amplified. It's a pretty powerful tool, and a lot of successful giving days use that. Many of you may have been involved in our Match Lab program or our +1 program. We use the power of leveraging. We do it because it works really well. So it's certainly really worth considering. It is work, though, as I mentioned before, it doesn't happen just by magic. So let's think about how we might plan a campaign. Well, let's talk about preparation. What does that look like? The first thing you've got to ask, answer the question that you have to answer the question, why would anyone give me money? Why is it important? Why is this work important? Not only from your personal perspective, but what are you bringing to the world? What is the public value of this work? Why is this work important? Why is this work important now? What's the urgency around your work? And also, what is your point of difference? If you're making a short film, inevitably somebody's touched on the thematic of that film before. You've got to be able to articulate, why this is different and how this is different. You've got to think about your target. How much are you aiming to raise? In many cases, your fundraising target may be less than your total budget. So you've got to be realistic about what you think you can raise. As I said, that idea that you're seeking pledges before the day can help you set that target. You've got to think about your network mapping, the idea that you need people to ask. So this relates to your database. Who are those people give money? Who are those people who are going to support your campaign? So potential supporters may come from a database. They may become from people who purchased your work before. They may become from people who supported you before. They might be previous donors. They might subscribe to your e-news. They might be industry colleagues or part of your professional network. They might be friends and family. But preparing and having that in good shape in the lead up to the day is really important. You've got to use key message to write a script for phone calls, email, and personal asks. This all takes a little bit of time. That's a craft exercise. How you might craft the messaging of your ask is really important. It's not something you would dash off in real time. You need some preparation time for that. And of course, you've got to prepare your digital assets, your content, your video, email, and social media. As I said, more on that on the 12th of August with our partner, Marlon. A communication schedule. So you want to have a think about what are the announcements that you might make, not only on the day, but in the lead up after you've launched your campaign. What are those newsworthy things that you might want to talk about? I've secured a great collaborator. I've secured a great venue. Somebody else has already signed up. I've already got an existing donor. You want to have a bit of a narrative around your fundraising in preparation for the day. As I said, getting your online donation platform is a really important part of that. If you don't have deductible gift recipient status as individuals, the Australian Cultural Fund can really help with that. Other resources, your team, staff, volunteers as needed and appropriate. That's a great way to engage your community and your mission before, during, and after your campaign. Okay, let's quickly talk about quiet phase. So the quiet phase is a fundraising strategy that's used in a lot of fundraising efforts. What does it mean? Well, it's essentially where you can go and get some pledges or some existing donors to sort of put in the bank before you announce publicly. We encourage this because, as I said, not only it helps you sleep at night, but it also enables you to roll out those match donations on your giving day. So if you've got significant amount of pledges, the conversation might be with those early donors, those doublers, as I've called them, in the attendees. Everything we raise the next hour is going to be matched by this particular donor, or up to a certain amount. We're going to match this in this particular power hour on the day. So that quiet phase is a really important part of that. As I said, people give money, so you need to have the capacity to network map. What is a network map? Well, they're really just a giant list of people, either from your database, your constituency, from your contacts, who are likely to give you money. A giant list of people, as many as you can, the more the merrier, ranked from most likely to give to least likely to give. And of course, you're going to start at the top of the list. Who are the people on the top of the list? Well, they've given to you before. They may be lapsed donors. Well, there's those people who've called you, who've mentioned at an opening night or a function or at your launch of your event. They said, I love what you do. I want to help you. Next time you're doing something like this, please come back to me. So the quiet phase, what does that mean? You reach out to your close networks. As I said, top 25% of your list. You want to get out of your top 25% of your list, you want to get about 40 to 50% of your target before the day. So what does that mean? Well, you've got to ask, you've got to set those relationships up, and you've got to build those relationships with other key supporters. That also helps you confirm a realistic target. If you've got money in the bank before the day, you know you've got that all sorted. That also helps you set a realistic target. Because let's face it, an unrealistic target where people see, oh, he's never going to make it, that's a disincentive for people to give. So you want to make sure that your constituency, the people you're asking, are going to jump on board. And if they see you're looking successful, even before you've really started, you have the best chance of success. So there's a bit of stage management involved in that. Um, but the quiet phase really helps with that. I'd also suggest that, the quiet phase is best done, in real life. The idea that you can go and speak to somebody in real life, in person, eyeball to eyeball, is a really important part of the quiet phase. Because let's face it, on the Giving Day campaign, unless you're running a giant event with 2,000 people there, you're not going to get a chance to speak to people in real life. The in real life opportunity to speak to people is important because in a room with somebody, we have eye contact, we have body language, we have non-verbal communication, we have lots of things going for us when we can communicate with people in real life, in person. So the quiet phase is where we need to do that. And if you can launch your campaign publicly with 50% of your target reached, then you're much more likely to have the momentum to get to your target or very close to it. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Whoa. So your components of your quiet phase, as I said, network mapping, making a giant list of people who you're going to approach, seeking out some lead donors, people who are going to break the ice. They are people who are warmed up, they've given to you before, they've said they're going to give. And then matching donors, the people who you might roll out later on down the track, particularly on your giving day. And look, unfortunately, as I said, asking is a part of this. We have to ask in order to achieve success. So that's a really important part of your giving day strategy in any fundraising. We've got to ask. As I said, if you're feeling awkward about that, many people feel a bit awkward about asking. You've got your local state manager in your state and territory. Reach out to them. They can certainly assist you with that. So your campaign launch, okay, we're ready to go. Phase 3, this is when you are publicly telling your networks that you will be participating in the Giving Day to the Arts in 2025. So we're announcing publicly. You're launching your campaign with coordinated posts on all digital channels, the ask video that you've made and the visual content with a powerful case for support. Why would anyone give me money? Well, this is why. You've got to post weekly or bi-weekly progress update. The idea that you will thank existing donors at that time as well, or people that you've been able to secure pledges prior to that day. That's a really important part of that. Highlighting any match funding. And of course, you continue to make direct approaches during your campaign launch. The idea that you can announce some matching donors at that time is really important. So that campaign launch moment is really important. Website, of course, is a big part of that. Your engaged networks we've already discussed. Rolling out personal calls and or texts, super important part of that. We've already touched on that. And of course, your digital assets, which are going out widely distributed at campaign launch. And look, a lot of people say, well, when do we launch our campaign? I would suggest, we go public with our campaign around about 10 days in advance of the Giving Day. Now, why do we say that? Well, we want to build momentum and urgency towards the Giving Day. If we go out a month earlier and we think, oh, I need more time to do this, by the time you reach 4 weeks later, 5 weeks later, the Giving Day, it's lost a bit of momentum, people are feeling exhausted. You've been talking about this for weeks and weeks. So we want to sort of build that air of expectation, a bit of momentum, a bit of kind of, critical mass, a week or 10 days out from the Giving Day. So we've really got to sort of hold back a little bit and put all our work into that quiet phase before that time, but then have a big splash, a big announcement on that day. Okay, and the day itself. Well, This has got to be fun. It should be celebratory. It should be, it should be close to party, but of course, it's more work. Um, you're hitting social media with compelling calls to action, only 2 hours left, or we've just launched, be one of the first to join us. Of course, as I said, highlighting any matching funding, super important part of that. You're able to conduct personalized follow-ups on the day. So if somebody gives you money, you want to jump straight on a social media response or send them an email or a text. If somebody's giving you some support, you want to keep building that momentum. Few announcements on that day is really important too. What's the importance of the project? Where is it going to go? What's going to happen with it is really important. The other tip I've seen work really well is that the people who give early are likely to give again towards the end of the day, particularly if you're getting close to a target. They want to help you get across the line. So what does that look like? Well, in terms of breaking down the hours 1 to 3, you want to have a really strong launch. You want to build up a head of steam through hours 4 to 6. Usually there's a dip at that time, and that's where you want to engage those matching or leverage donors during that dip. You want to re-engage with some fun content. Maybe there's some post something behind the scenes, lift the lid on what's happening at your sort of control center, or in your bedroom where you're sort of running the giving day from. You also want to recreate that sense of urgency. Only 3 hours left to unlock our $1,000 bonus match from so and so. So setting mini goals to try and keep the momentum going is really important. Your first launch time, that's really kickoff energy. You won't believe what we're trying to do. This is why we're here. And as I said, you also want to thank people who've already jumped on board with pledges. So you're really creating a lot of momentum during that time. And ideally, that first 3 hours or so, you want to be hitting about 25% of your target. The building up steam moment, really, that's hourly updates. They're challenge matches, to say, look, you want to announce a matching gift for the hour. So by 11 a.m. or by noon, if we can raise $1,000 by noon, that's going to be matched by this donor. You might have, somebody that you've got in your back pocket who's ready to do that. The other thing, often you can invite one of your existing donors, one of your ambassadors, somebody you've preordained. Maybe it's somebody who might be, have a bit of a profile in the media, somebody to take over your socials to really build up a head of steam. I'm here at, the HQ of this fundraising campaign. You won't believe what's happening here. So you can build up a bit of momentum through your ambassadors. The final push, of course, is that's where you create that urgency. You want to announce, look, we just hit 90%. Let's get us across the line. You want to, and ideally, you've also got what I would call a bring it on home donor in your back pocket. Somebody who said to you, look, if you get close to your target, I'm going to get you across the line. If you've got that person, of course, this is the time to roll that person out. And if you hit your target early, make a stretch goal. There's no reason why you can't hit that target that you've already done. You can always, stretch that out a bit. People really love to be successful. Make the day fun. Of course, you want to promote those milestones, build momentum, create a sense of FOMO. What are people joining? What if they miss out? They want to be part of that. This is all part of, I guess, of the psychology of why people give. Most people want to be connected to something important. They want to be connected to something meaningful. That's generally why they might give to you. But having hourly countdowns, celebrating goals, and as I said, having a stretch goal is a super important part of that day. But it should be a celebratory day. It'll be exhausting. It'll be a lot of work, but it should be fun as well, with a bit of luck. So your post campaign, what happens afterwards? Well, celebration. You've hit your target. It's successful. You need to be announcing on social media, we did it. And of course, thanking your supporters, sending personalized emails out, of course, sending personalized texts. You can't really thank people enough. You did it. Personalized calls never goes astray. And of course, if you've got a high value donor, feature them in the final campaign wrap up. Getting a testimonial, filming a testimonial, or getting a quote from somebody in the post campaign period is super important. Most people really want to do that. They want to sort of celebrate with you. They want to become part of something. Okay, so we moved in. What happens afterwards? Ongoing stewardship. Inevitably, as an artist, you're going to be in this moment again. So you want to build deepen those relationships. So you want to keep donors informed with updates, invite donors to events. You want to send reports to people that the project is complete. You want to have pictures and pictorial around what the project is, because you want to nurture those relationships for ongoing support of your work and practice into the future. What does that look like? Well, a phone call within 24 hours is ideal. You want people to respond quickly. You want to reinforce that behavior. You want to give people that dopamine connection, that serotonin connection they get when they've hit their target. They're part of something really great, and they're getting reinforced around that. Relevant updates keep people up to speed with what the project is doing. Short videos, whatever brings your project to life, that's what you should be doing, and keeping people up to speed. And of course, you can create some anticipation and excitement about the next initiative that you're going to undertake, what that might look like. So you want to make your donors feel like they're in part of the inner circle. So this is all really important part of what I would call, good stewardship is towards growing a culture of gratitude, growing a culture of inclusion. That's where you want to be. That's what your giving day can also do for you. It's a lot, as I said, a lot of work, but it's really important to do that really well. What does that look like? We'll build some systems around gratitude. This is also relates back to building your team. You can assign some responsibility of people to prepare handwritten notes or cards to send out. You can also create a bit of a template around what your stewardship or that building that relationship might look like. And remember, video is your friend. Video can often be, we've all got smartphones now, so video ticks all the boxes for thanking. It can be heartfelt, it's authentic. You're not going to hoodwink anyone through a video. All the artist group can be involved. It can be fun, and every donor can receive a thank you video on the day that they donate. So don't hesitate to make a quick thank you video. Okay, we're rounding the home straight now, but I put this in as a bit of a stewardship matrix about how you might sort of think about your thanking and acknowledging your people, deepening those relationships. It's important to have a clear plan outlining how you'll acknowledge people and engage with each level of donor. You can also add some protocols about who gets to be invited to the celebratory launch, who gets to be invited to opening night. But I would also suggest, calling within no later than 3 days within the successful fundraising campaign is really important. There's a little video here, I think. Yeah, so what makes for good stewardship? Involving people, getting people behind the scenes look is a really important part of that. So one-on-one meetings with artists, attending rehearsals or previews, not open to everybody, seeing a work in progress, all that becomes really important. Behind the scenes, personalized booking or services. Would you like to come and see my work in a preview sense? I want to give you a guided, curated tour of my exhibition. Would you like an advanced copy of my graphic novel? Whatever that might be, that's certainly where you want to head. The idea that you've got a group of donors who've got a personalized experience and feel quite close to you, that's really important. Okay, we're nearly at the end here, but I also I guess what I want to leave you with the idea that, dreaming big, trying to grapple with things, people love the idea of a big idea. A big blue sky idea is a great way to motivate people. So don't be afraid to share your biggest, boldest possible vision of things through your Giving Day campaign. Um, People love to be associated with things that are bold, that are big, that are adventurous. Um, Having said that, it doesn't mean you're going to raise, millions of dollars through a big idea, but it can be a start. Encourage people to think, to engage with your biggest possible blue sky vision. Okay, Jimmy, I'm going to hand back to you quickly, but I would invite people um, to take note of these dates. These dates are the upcoming other workshops that we've got. As I said, Marlin Communication are our digital asset partners in this. They are going to reveal what they've come up with on the 12th of August. So by all means, sign yourself up for that little that moment. Also, we've got some other, for those of you who do cross the line and have in the process of their Giving Day campaign, Monday the 8th of September is another place where you can touch base online. And of course, the actual day becomes Thursday, the 23rd of October. James, I might hand back to you. I'll stop talking now and hand back to you to wrap up and maybe answer some questions.
Okay, all right. Look, thanks, Stephen. I'm glad you reminded yourself to stop for breath every now and again. There was a lot in there, and we didn't want you to pass out halfway through it. Um, Tremendous information. I hope that's been useful. Um, please feel free to just throw some questions in the box down the bottom. We've got a few minutes for questions. There's no questions in there at the moment, so that can only be good news. I'm delighted. I'm losing my voice, and I didn't even present the seminar, so I'm quite happy about that. Just while we're waiting to see if there are any questions that pop in, um, there is a second seminar, particularly for arts organizations, but a lot of the same information will be shared. So if you want to go through this again, if you need another reminder, that's Thursday, the 31st of July, next Thursday at the same time. So you're welcome to join that. Don't miss the Marlin Communications one on Tuesday, the 12th. I think that will be pretty darn useful. Look, I also wanted just to share that we've got two match funding opportunities up online at the moment. Plus one is for $25,000 or $50,000, depending on what your turnover is, but that's for organizations, and that closes on the 5th of July. And with the same deadline, 5th of July, there's a program called Match Lab, where artists and arts collectives can apply for matching money and some professional development specifically around fundraising and fundraising effectiveness. So all the information is on the Creative Australia website for that. Okay, I'm going to have one last look in the questions. Okay, there is one question. Let me just read this. Thanks for imparting this information. Just to be clear, this is not a double donation day, e.g. matched funds, but is an opportunity to ask for donations with all of the gusto around the fundraising day. Stephen, do you want to answer that? Can you see the question? I mean, I'll start by saying I think any opportunity to provide to offer leverage, either a dollar for dollar opportunity, is going to be well received and make your campaign more effective. So I would, those two funding options that I've just mentioned, Match Lab and plus one, they'll be notified. The successful applicants will be notified before the giving day, so they will be encouraged to use that leverage matching opportunity on the giving day. That's just going to make it even more powerful. Do you want to add anything, Stephen?
Yeah, look, I hope I've been clear. There's no what's the word? There's no compulsion to offer matched donations on the day. If you choose to run a digital media campaign, a social media campaign on the day, and that's all you do, that's certainly something that you could do. What we know is that if you've got some leverage funds to offer on the day that can be matched, we know that's a pretty useful tool. We know that's a pretty useful tool to encourage other people to give. So, for instance, if you announce, look, you launch your campaign and say, look, I've got a donor that's going to give me $2,000 for every, he's going to match an amount up to $2,000 by noon today. That's a motivator for people to jump on board and make a donation towards matching that $2,000. That's all it is. We know that leveraging works, but it's certainly not a compulsory element to the giving day by any means. I hope that answers your question. If not, by all means, reach out to James or I, or one of our other state managers in the follow-up. We certainly would be happy to do that. I put up on screen our contacts, our email contacts. So if you have other questions and other follow-up questions, by all means, reach out to us by jurisdiction. But I
Um,
also, sorry, Jimmy, I'd just also like to say, thanks once again for people to taking this time to learn a bit more about the Giving Day. Hopefully, there's been some good information here. If you need more support, if you need a deeper dive, by all means, reach out to the state managers. We're all ready, willing, and able to give you a bit of a deeper dive.
Stephen, another question from Sophie, which is how can you facilitate receiving pledges before the day? Is this a function available through the ACF?
Absolutely, yes. So the ACF, you will set up your project page through the ACF. As I said, you can set it up anytime from now until October. You can leave it up after October. You can set your ACF page up from any time now. Usually takes about 2 or 3 days to get your project up. You can have your project on set to private. So it's not published. No one sees it publicly. But as you go around and talk to your potential donors, you can send them a QR code, you can send them a link to that page. Again, not published, but private. And people can put money into that page. They can give you a pledge, they can give you a donation prior to the day that no one even sees about. And it's really only at the time when you launch your campaign publicly that's when that amount is revealed. So, as I said, it builds momentum during that time, but you can certainly use the ACF in the lead up to offer somebody a tax receipt for a donation and sort of keep that private until such a time as when you're ready to make that public. I hope that's clear.
Okay, all right. Look, there don't seem to be any more questions. Like I say, there's another seminar this time next week. It is for organizations, but we'll be covering some of the same ground. Um, the state managers, as Stephen has said, are available, free access, free advice. So there's Stephen, obviously, in Victoria and Tasmania, Michelle over in Sydney, New South Wales, Matt Higgins up in Queensland, Hannah in South Australia, but also covers the NT, and I'm over here in Perth, covering Western Australia. So on that note, I'll close this webinar. Wish you the greatest luck and success with the Giving Day, which of course is called Oz Art Day. Embrace it and go from strength to strength. Thank you, Stephen. Terrific presentation. I wish you all the best.